Hello everybody, welcome into the HobbyBarr. This is Jason, and welcome. Today, we'll be continuing work on this Gossamer Air Sorceress from Reaper. Wanted to start working on some of the other details and finish up the leather, and maybe play around with some metal medium. First, I wanted to highlight the hair today. So, we're going to get some of this Viejo pale yellow onto the palette, and use that to highlight this Minnie's hair, which again was done with the yellow ink, just to get it to that bright yellow, bright sharp yellow. So this is sort of a desaturated yellow for the pale yellow, and it'll be basically a perfect highlight color, just to pick out strands of hair on the Minnie. Yeah, with that, we'll go ahead and get tucked into this process. Highlighting the hair was very straightforward, nothing really to talk about here, so go ahead and get settled in on that, and talk about some admin stuff for this. Notice the, still haven't gotten quite the focal distance for the rotating camera yet, but we'll go ahead and work on that some more, and hopefully I got it better this time. We'll see how it turned out. But also, I'm trying a higher resolution and frame rate this time, so it doesn't quite make the battery happy. So I forgot about this, and the battery will cut out on the recording. So the final look won't quite be what's spun on the video isn't quite shown for all the work, but it's alright. Live and learn is what it is. But yeah, we'll get tucked into the sorceress, highlighting her hair, and then we'll start working on a lot of the other details. I don't get to show playing with the metal medium on camera, but what I do is I'll pick out some of the details and you'll see it in the spin later, and I can point them out then. Alright, so go ahead and finish up highlighting the hair. I'll catch up with y'all in a bit. Alright, so we moved on to highlighting the green now with Citadel Loren Forest. The green on the cloak, I wasn't quite happy with the transition between the bright ink green and the sort of shadowed green-black for the ink. So I wanted to go back in and put this color sort of as the mid-tone between them, just to pick out the raised areas on the back, and on the inside of the cloak and stuff. So this is just to pick out the more raised up areas, sort of as a mid-tone, which is sort of weird as a mid-tone between sort of that bright green and the darker recessed shaded green, but I think it still worked for what I wanted it to do. And it takes me a bit here, but go ahead and jump around towards the end of it. Pretty basic stuff here too, just laying down on the raised areas. Yeah, I'm picking it out. So nothing real special to talk about here. So I'll catch up with y'all and we can move on to the next bit. Alrighto, we are now moving on to reapplying some Citadel Rhinox Hide. Needed to bust this color back out because I didn't catch her boots with the leather, and I decided the little apron drape thing on front of her should also be leather, so we need to bust out the leather colors again and get back in there. So, go ahead and get those boots tagged back, or get the boots done up in leather and the little tabard thing. Later on for the tabard, after highlighting and stuff, I do go in with some of the Turbo Dork white metallic that I have. It's Pearly Gates. Just because I wanted it to be sort of shiny metal, I might knock it back down to silver instead of the bright white for Pearly Gates, so because I'm not quite happy with how bright white it is. Maybe even go down to a copper might be too akin to the brown leather. I'll probably just make it maybe gunmetal or lead belcher, sort of more of a steel color on it. Even though she is an air sorceress, you know, I want those raised areas to be a little bit different. Maybe I can make them different color. I don't know, she's got a lot of colors on her now, with the yellow, the red, the green, sort of a, what would you call that color? Sort of a, oh, that's a tough one, sort of a greenish blue. I don't think it's really turquoise for Baharroth Blue, but that's coming up. Then a very desaturated blue with blue horror, and then we'll also be highlighting the leather, but that'll come later. Right now, just getting the paint on the boots and the leather drape that I missed. Kept nailing the ring light that I'm using to help, because I have a magnifying ring light, and I kept tapping it with the brush, like you hear right now. So I just need to figure out my happy spot for where I can see and not bump everything and make a mess. But yeah, we'll carry on painting of these boots and the tabard with the Rhinox Hide. Alright, now we are on to what is now, I believe, a layer paint, but I have the edge paint version of it called Citadel Baharroth Blue. I like it, it's a very nice color. Blue towards the blue-green spectrum. I think it's brighter than like Temple Guard blue, but it's a nice color. I enjoy it. We'll be using this for the metal and the like. She has a necklace on, so I wanted to use it for like that necklace bit around her neck, and for like the scroll on her waist, because it looks like she has like a little scroll canister kind of a thing. I figure an Air Sorceress will go for the more wispy blue side of the colors that tend to be used for air, rather than like the greenish hues that's sometimes used or stuff like that. So I also didn't want it to be a super strong blue because then it might be more water side of things. Like if I went all the way to using the blue ink or one of the Citadel actual blue colors, like a crag blue or something, then it would probably look too much like Water Mage. I still want to try to keep her a little bit like an Air Sorceress, so that's why we're going for more of this light blue / blue-green. But we'll get that on her. Do have to flip her around a bit so I can actually get in there where the paint's needed. I do also add some into her eyes, so that her eyes have that little bit of blue in them. I then played around a bit with adding it around her mouth, but I didn't like the look of that, so I had to come back in here and fix it up with some of the white flesh from Vallejo. You can get that fixed up. I also added some of the blue horror into her eye. Later on I'll play with the metallic medium with the Baharroth Blue, sort of making the Baharroth Blue a shade color, the metallic Baharroth mixture into like the medium tone, and the blue horror by itself as a highlight. It seemed to work pretty well, but I think that's after the camera died. We'll get to that when we get to it. Catch up with you all on the next color though, after fixing up the blue on her mouth, because I didn't like how that turned out, so reverted it back. And I'm reverting it back now with, actually, I believe I went to Malefic Flesh from Vallejo. Just because I wanted sort of a darker purplish brown color instead of like purplish blue. So I figured the frozen flesh would be a bit too strong for a shadow tone on her face, oddly enough. So that's why I went with a different color for her lips. And yeah. It looks like we do get into the Baharroth Blue and the metallic medium mixture here on this with the camera rolling. So for this, I noticed that the metallic medium, it does a good job of making any paint metallic, like I would expect. But it also has a slight, like, whiteness to it. So it desaturated the Baharroth Blue into a different color, and you can see that on the palette there, where it's actually a completely different looking color than just normal Baharroth Blue, which is right next to it there. That's fine. I like it still, and it did exactly what I was hoping it would do. It gave me a metallic sheen on the little scroll case and her necklace there that we got. Need to figure out what to do with her pouches around her waist, because she has a pouch on her hip, and she has a couple of straps that go around her. I need to figure out what to do with those. I might just make the straps black, and figure out what to do with the pouch. Maybe that'll just be black as well, sort of black hip purse. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get this metallic mediumed Baharroth Blue done up on her. And then I'll catch up with y'all on the next bit. Alrighto, we're back to highlighting with some of the blue horror Citadel paint. I have the edge version. I believe it's now considered a layer paint. But going in and highlighting all of the parts that I put the metallic medium Baharroth Blue mixture on. Just because I wanted to just sort of give it a bright highlight color. Just to pick it out for that metallic. Basically put it on the top portions of it. Not a super fancy highlight. So, sort of has this matte approach on one side and whatnot. Then we dive right back into another color, which will be Vallejo Dark Fleshtone. So this is how I tend to do darker leather. I put down the Citadel Rhinox Hide, and then I get some of this Vallejo Dark Fleshtone. I tried using Dark Fleshtone on people because it says Fleshtone, but to me it's very, very, like, red. So Wasn't quite happy with how it turned out. I'll just play with it some more and figure out its usage better for me. But which I think will come with time. Just getting used to the paint and putting in more mixing and stuff. Like what I'm doing here, I actually have some Rhinox Hide still alive on the palette, and I'm using some dark Fleshtone to give me sort of a highlight mid-tone color between the two, because I don't know if you can quite tell on the palette, but dark Fleshtone is very ruddy, sort of dark red, or dark skin red. It's pretty different from Rhinox Hide, which is very dark, with a smaller hint of the red tone in it, whereas Fleshtone has more of that reddish tone in it. So, we go around highlighting with this on the leather bits. I needed to do it on her armbands, and the boots, and the tabard a bit. Then, after doing that with the mixture paint, we come back in with just the straight up dark Fleshtone by itself to really highlight some areas on those leather bits. And I like it because it gives that nice dark leather sort of look. It's hard to say whether I like the dark leather or the light leather look more. It just depends on what I want to do with the mini. Probably what I could have done was pick out some of the pieces to use the contrast paint on snakebite leather. This way I have some areas that are light leather and some areas that are dark. But yeah, with that, the recording's gonna go ahead and die here soon. So I'll catch up with y'all when we get to the spin, and you can see what was done to the model this week for this episode. Alright everybody, last call. So for this week, we got a good amount done on the mini. Need to figure out the settings on the camera a bit, and hopefully this looks fine. A little bit out of focus, I'll get that length dialed in one of these days. But yeah, have a good one everybody, and take care.